Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collected podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, and welcome to TFYLP episode 350 for October 13th, 2019. And so today you may be wondering, you're like, oh, what, did I tune in to an old episode? Well, except for the fact that I'm on.
What year is it?
Right. What year is it?
You're having flashbacks.
I managed for TFYLP 350, since this is kind of a milestone episode here, I decided to try to get some older cast members on, some retired.
Oh, now he's making fun of our age. Now he's making fun of our age.
I'm old. I'm used to it.
As I say, we're all old, or not all of us, but I am. So
I'm just not Headmaster Don old yet.
Oh.
Just remember, Don, it doesn't matter because I will always be younger than you.
So
always lean into the camera too whenever you're trying.
I still have my hair too. Look. Can't sport that beard like Mike can. Michael's got that big. I can't do it. I'm jealous.
I did up to a week ago.
But you got no hair on top. It doesn't matter. He's unreal.
Yeah, over 10 years, mine is almost grown in.
That's about what mine looks like after a year. So it just doesn't work.
So with me today, I have Brett over here.
Over here, but okay.
And then I've got Michael.
What's up, everybody? It's been a long time since you heard that.
and Tyler.
I don't even remember what I said.
and then I brought back Jerron as well.
Buddy, and welcome to TFYLP episode number 350.
There you go. Mike brought his what is that, a hound dog?
Yeah. He's watching me intensely.
Speaking of which, a side note, I have a puppy now.
Intensely, yes.
A German Shepherd, and she is ornery. Very ornery.
Oh, yeah, so, this one will probably interrupt me at some point in this.
Well, I shut the door. Otherwise, she'd be in here jumping around, biting on everything. She loves to bite Transformers, too.
Oh, lovely.
Why not?
That's that part.
It tastes so chewy.
So yeah, if I'm like at TFCon and I'm like, why do some of Brett's figures have bite marks?
That slobber's extra, by the way. You got to pay a premium.
That's authentic battle damage.
That's right.
They're customs.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, wow. My whole Lucky Draw set has been chewed to pieces.
That's why you learn to keep the good pieces up high.
Never get a cat, because that won't help.
You got to put it behind glass.
Yeah. That's the...
If anything, Don has taught me I don't like cats. I knew I didn't like them, but I really don't like them. Not a cat person.
Oh. That's sad now.
You know that. I can't do cats. I love dogs.
You don't want the random attacks?
I get that from the dogs. I mean, I still got... She claws the crap out of me.
How old is she?
4 months now.
Oh, yeah. You got a good long time before that stops.
Yeah, she's got those puppy teeth that are like razor sharp, and you're like, why? Why would a puppy have razor sharp teeth?
I don't know why you need to cut people Ren.
Oh, and that, and they have these little razor blades in their paws.
Yeah.
I know they're razor blades. They have to be. I mean, they just have to be.
Yeah, dogs for the first year, pretty much cats.
Oh, and you deal with that all the time, Duron? No. Declaw.
Declaw.
You don't bother me. I mean,
Now, I did have, my buddy had a cat that I actually could stand because it was declawed and really, really fat. So all it would do is just lay on you. Just something you pet and go away, and it would go away. So that's the perfect cat. It's there when you want that moral support, and then just go away.
You just
kind of like a spouse.
Abstract painter.
Yeah. Perfect spouse.
I like dogs. Don't get me wrong, but I've always been a cat guy. Just something about cats that absolutely. I'll always be a cat guy, but I won't turn out a good puppy pet too. So.
You just come to the house, you get all the pets you want, and she'll bite you too. So you'd be reminiscent of the cat too. So you get both. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, this isn't pets and.
This is cat talk.
This isn't Transformers. This isn't Transformers for your listening. This isn't Transformers for your listening petters.
It's good to see that.
That's what you're supposed to petters.
That could be taken so wrong.
Yeah.
Quickly. Right.
So.
Well, hey, that's what the show was predicated.
Let's get on to.
We're all about the soft petting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, it seems like old times. I mean, it's just right like, wasn't it? Wow. That didn't take
long.
Why
we're not here anymore.
That's what she said.
There you go. I was waiting for it. Wasn't gonna say it.
So yeah, Duron. So how long have you had this show? By the way, can you tell us a little bit about the history of the show for the viewers that are unaware? How it started?
Well, TFYLP in a long time ago on a galaxy far, far away, started as Geek Existence on a website that's now defunct. A friend of mine and I started it up, geekexistence.com. And it's basically gadgets and toys and, just anything geeky, And obviously I was doing the end of the spectrum. And Greg, Insane Galvatron, and I, we started recording a podcast, Geek Existence Toys. And each week we cover a line. Well, after about 10 episodes, we realized that we were just talking about toy lines that we were marginally familiar with, and couldn't add much more by way of conversation more than I remember that toy line and it was cool and all, but wasn't really into it. So after the 10th episode, we turned it into Geeky Transformers. And that's when this guy down here, Tyler, joined in with us. He was doing some photography, and he was on TFW, and had some good interactions with him, and invited him to become part of the cast. And we basically did that for a couple years until we went on hiatus, and then came back as TFYLP pre-YouTube. So before people could watch us on the screen, they were to myself, Greg, and Tyler, TFR Cool down here. And here the show still is going, so it basically just turned out, started out as me and Greg talking on a phone, not knowing if anybody was listening to us. I think Michael was probably the only one that listened to us at the time. And then, word of mouth and people catching on, and we grew the cast, and I think YouTube was whenever we really started catching on. But yeah, I think Tyler. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of crazy to think of a world pre-YouTube now. I feel like it's just so ingrained in our, just everything, especially thinking of video content as well. It's hard to think that
It was a world
it's
transformed where things were not what they seem.
I was just how long
So-
you go with it.
but yeah, everyone didn't have. I don't know. Back then, were you like dialing in with your like 56K modem there, Duran, or did you actually
No.
have broadband at that point?
No,
What are
we
you talking about?
had,
He's
we
still
had,
using
like-
that.
we had like 50 meg internet. I mean, it wasn't much. Certainly not high quality streaming or anything, but as the years progressed and gigabit internet became more accessible and I just kept upgrading the internet until what I have now.
What,
so-
65, 70? I mean, doing good.
Yeah.
Doing good.
Now, a whole
Kentucky,
75
after all.
kilobits.
Hey, Northern Kentucky's different. I'm rocking 300 plus, so. Of course, I pay out the butt for it, too, so.
Just out of curiosity, I give $89.99 a month for gigabit. How much do you give?
Dear game. With cable, mine is 149.
Well, that's not bad with cable.
But the cable, and I need to get rid of it. I think we pay about $80. I think it's almost half and half.
Yeah.
But we got in under a different plan to where we pay for 100, but for some reason we get 300, and I'm not complaining. So, yeah, exactly. I didn't say that. I didn't say no.
Yeah, right.
What it has to do with
not live, right?
Stream.
what it has to do with
You
is that
totally jinxed it.
there's a junction. We're towards the end of the subdivision, and there's a junction at the end of our subdivision, like a booster. And because we're so close to it, that's the only thing I could think of. But yeah, I usually get 300, and I don't remember what my upload is, but I usually have no problems. And we do 3 smart TVs, I don't know how many phones, tablets, Xbox, whatever the kids are playing, all that stuff, and no problem. So, but if you'll remember, I mean, I was going through some bad times too when we did Cincinnati Bell, and I get 4, 7, and I was supposed to get like 80 or whatever it was, and there were times where, if you remember, when I was hosting, it would just cut out, and that software wouldn't work, and it was, oh my God, it was horrible. So I went through rough times.
The joys of hosting. It's
Yeah.
If you really want to tax your internet, host a podcast. There you go. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, no, I
when
quickly found that out myself. Is I need to actually hardwire my stuff in. The laptop that I had was kind of going full board. Hosting the call and the software and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it makes you really look at your hardware and all that type of thing.
Since we're talking about this, I'm just kind of curious. Duran, do you remember where you would have a little window open watching your CPU go up to like 100% and over, and all of a sudden it'd freeze, and we'd wait, it'd come back down, and you were back again. I remember that stuff. Mm-hmm. It was so funny because I'd be on the phone with you too, and you're like, yep. Well, right now I'm running at 97. And I'm like, yeah, I can tell because we're all choppy and it's real slow, and your computer's just like taxed out. But
Duran's like putting his computer in the freezer and
trying to cool it off.
maybe if I take it and blow on it,
that works for some things, not computers.
Pull the cartridge out.
See the great thing about.
Yeah. Got it. We're old.
Yeah. Sure.
About podcasting is that you could do all the tests in the world before you went live. Everything's in the green. Your your bandwidth is good, your CPU usage is good, everybody's connected well, and then you hit that broadcast button and it's like the internet goes.
or
throws up right at that moment.
Yeah,
Which wasn't perfect.
Or one extra person pops on and then bam, you're done. Remember that? We had to limit the number of people too.
Yeah.
You could only have so many people on, and that was that Hangouts that did that?
I think you could have 8.
Well, we had, but the problem was
Skype,
with his computer, if you had, the more people you had, I guess it taxed your computer more. So we had to like limit it, and I think it was like, I thought it was like 5. I think we figured that out.
It might be
we
Skype.
started to limit it too, just based on just talking over each other and stuff, because
Conversation.
started to get more than 4 or 5. It really started to just become like devolve into just noise.
Yeah, you're right. See ya. I'm going.
And people,
Yeah.
no one. Anyway.
I was gonna say I'm really pressing my luck
just-
here. You know, it's like 5 guys and we're all over the place talking about cats and internet and.
This was
What did you
this was
expect?
TFYLP,
Internet goes-
like.
What did you
5
expect? Michael
times
and I
out of
haven't
10.
talked to you in like ever, so we're gonna just keep talking.
I mean, essentially, I think we could open up a hamburger company. I'm not sure what we would call it, but I think that we're like
Hamburgers,
80% of the way there.
5 guys and pets.
Something like, I don't know, like 5 men or something like that. I don't know what a good name for a
5
restaurant
guys
like
and
that is.
pets. There you go.
5 guys, burgers, and pleasure.
You know what the best part is? I know what we could do with the cat.
Make them into burgers.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, have you ever seen a bunch of stray cats around a Chinese place, a Chinese food place? No, you haven't.
Oh.
You have not. Just saying.
Oh.
Just saying. Tastes like chicken. A little chewy.
You're horrible. Horrible.
I'm not a cat person.
Wouldn't eat that diseased meats.
So, but Chinese food.
I could go for some Chinese.
I actually like Chinese food. I have to admit. Yeah, orange chicken, good stuff.
I haven't had any in a while.
It's all about General Tso's. Yeah. I like the
General
spicy.
Tso's orange
Kung Pao's good.
Do they have
Yeah,
any
there you go.
Chinese food? One of those bots or whatever they're called. The little.
Oh, I don't know if they do or not.
Well, the
Well,
big
should.
problem is in Kentucky we have pseudo Chinese food. It's not really. I mean,
It's not true.
Yeah,
it's really not. I never knew what Chinese food was until I went. I know, and this is funny. When I went to New York, and I went to Little China, and there was a restaurant there. My buddy got me to, and I was just like, "This stuff's amazing." He's like, "What are you talking about? This is like Chinese food." I'm like, "No, this is not Chinese. This is good. This is really good." So we get the pseudo American version. You know, it's
Well,
okay.
it's the same way with Mexican food.
Sure, true,
I mean,
true Tex-Mex. When I was in Texas, now you talk about some good food. And when I went to New Mexico, they had some good. And, the bacons that were down in Pasadena. If you went just south of there, you talk about some good Mexican food.
Oh,
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, I mean that's real stuff.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
they need to bring BotCon back to Florida one of these days. You know, I missed the fact I know it was in Pasadena for, 1 year, and then it was in Florida, and then they're just like, all right, Pasadena for the
They-
foreseeable future.
hot ass.
Yeah, but we hated that.
Oh, it was
Not
so-
only as because it was so expensive to get there, but as a vendor, it was horrible. I mean, and we did shows about that before. It's just when you keep going back and forth, you saturate the area, and it's not just about your attendees. You have to make the vendors happy too, and the only way they're going to make happy is what? Making money. And you can't go back to the same place with the same stuff and sell to the same people who didn't want it last year. You have to have a new, what is that? A new group, a new place to go to, venue.
new
That's it.
location. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, do you think that TFCon has done that in the U.S.? So, like in Toronto, they have it in the same hotel every single year. But then in the U.S., they've been alternating it between Chicago, D.C., and then they just had one in L.A. earlier in this year. So do you think that's a better way to do it, just so that, that way people aren't getting sick of the show?
Trying to think of what all I can and should say. I'll be in DC in 2 weeks. I can say that. Let's put you this way. Looking back at all the conventions that I've attended, including TFCon and BotCon, if there is an area that's never been hit or hasn't been hit recently, you do better. You do better in attendance. You do better in sales. Just overall do better. So by proxy, by saying that, yes, moving around would definitely be better. I can tell you that our best TFCon we ever did, and I've been to Canada, oh my God, 5-6 times easy. And I've been at TFCon ever since it came to the US. And I can tell you that DC was by far our best show because it hadn't been hit in years. I know that. So I'm kind of curious to see, I mean, we skipped a year by going back there, how it's going to play out. Because that is an untapped area. So, yeah, I mean, shows, I think in general, do better in untapped areas. If that
I'll go ahead and
answers the
advocate
question.
for bringing it back to Florida again. So,
Well, what was that? 2010.
TFCon's
it was
never been in
2010. Yeah, 2010 BotCon when they did the G2 special based off of the
The
classics
neat
line.
thing about that was, I had so much fun there, and I actually had a lot of fun. That was the Dolphin, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Swan and the Dolphin. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That they have a phenomenal pool area, and I had so much fun there. I mean, and it's just, people that you, as a vendor, selling to, talking to, and everything. But then I know it sounds stupid, but out at the pool, people are totally different. But you're still a geek.
Yeah.
You're still a nerd. You're still a Transformer fan, and I just had a ball. We had so much fun. It was unreal, and I love that. That hotel is amazing. Expensive, but amazing.
Yeah, it was probably the most fun that I've had.
I was gonna say about TF cons. I've actually kind of enjoyed DC and LA a little bit better than Chicago, just because the hotels were the vendor space was good, but it really was mainly about us. Like it wasn't that there were like 5 shows going on at the same time, or that there was a bunch of people, because the hotels were a little bit smaller. And so I kind of enjoy that. So
which one was this?
Well, TFCon LA earlier this year, and then DC 2 years ago. Like, I just like those hotels, better, just because I felt like it was like the right fit for the show.
I got them over here. You had mentioned Canada, and that they use the same hotel, the same location, almost, I think, right around the same time frame, everything. And when you find a hotel that does what this one does, it's amazing. Who all, I know, Daron, you went to Canada, didn't you, with Orson?
I have not been to Canada yet. Well, I mean, I've been to Canada, but not for TF.
Not for the show. Has anyone else gone to the show in Canada?
I haven't.
It's amazing. The whole hotel is decked out in Transformers. The menus at the restaurant, they have like I can't remember names for like drinks after like Nucleon this or it's all Transformer based, and the whole hotel gets involved. When you get that, I mean, it's really hard to leave a hotel that'll do all that. However, they've grown too much, and they're going to have to do something. The vendor space is so big that they use all the, I guess, the ballrooms or whatever you want to call it, the meeting rooms, and the outside foyer. And as of 2 years ago, they used a separate place that was actually on the other side of the hotel just to get more vendors because they had such a huge response. So they're outgrowing that hotel very quickly. But it's amazing all the stuff that they do. So that's why they stay there. Probably because it's cheap too. But anyway, but it's a good venue, and when you go there, it was a long time before I had a convention that I went to that I actually just enjoyed going to, not worry about selling, but enjoyed going to because it was friendly, it was neat, it was fun. And that was a show called Iacon 1. It was many, many, many years ago. And I talked about that on one of the shows a long time ago, but just a really, really good show. And that's kind of what this is. This is just more about getting together, having fun. You sell some toys, great, but you had a good time. So that's a good show.
I've told, go ahead. Go ahead.
Was that Dron? Go ahead.
Oh, I told Orson that if I go to a show again, I'm not going as a dealer helper or anything. I want to go as an attendee, and simply for the reason that going to work a con is totally different than going to attend a con. And
Absolutely.
working a con has totally sucked the fun out of me. It's not to say that I hated being a dealer helper. I loved it, but at the same time, so many times that there's panels I wanted to go to, and I missed dealer tables I wanted to browse.
Well, that's because Orson's a slave driver, but that's beside the point.
But at the same time, I also consider I've been to many conventions, even not as a dealer helper, and there's so many things that you can only see so much.
Yeah.
How many panels are you going to see that's like the history of Transformers, voice actor panels? Once in a while they might tell a story that you haven't, but for the most part, the voice actor panels have even. Now, the only ones that I really found interesting was if there was a voice actor panel and there were some other voice actors that had not previously been to conventions or had not been to many, and I had not experienced them. But for the most part, the panels were even getting kind of boring. And I would just go for I would just go for the toys. And still, if I was to go back, the dealer room is about the only place I'd want to be. That and the after hours, after the dealer room closes, hanging out with friends. That right there is the funnest part.
When I went in 2010, I immediately spent every single dollar that I had available to spend. It lasted maybe 45 minutes.
How much of that did I get?
Just
messing with you.
Goodness gracious. What did I get? The first thing that I got was that the the guys who made the TF Parallax, the Optimus Prime combiner set, their first toy that was the Triple Changer Springer.
Yeah.
That was the first thing that I picked up. Jeez.
Oh, the Fans Project.
Fans Project Springer, whichever they called their Warbotron. I think is what the name of it was.
Warbotron is Warbot Defender.
Yeah.
Warbot Defender.
Yeah, Warbot Defender. That was the first thing that I picked up there because I'd been seeing things in threads about it, and I'm like, all right, now let's see if I can find one of those.
And now we have this.
Yep. And I bet he doesn't even fall over if you sneeze near it.
We could do another hour just talking about the official stuff that came in.
Gosh.
That actually improved upon. I mean, look at Predaking, Devastator.
Siege Omega.
Think about the new.
Is so fun.
Yeah, the new Unicron that they're doing. I mean, oh my God. They really stepped their game up, but and this is a different topic, but I honestly believe that third party was the best thing that could ever happen to official.
I think so too. I'll go and say that because it made them do better.
They had to.
We had I mean, geez, when I was like in the most depth of collecting, that was in Revenge of the Fallen sort of stuff. And that was like the best that I'd seen.
That was your darkest hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was like, when it was very complicated, the figures are relatively complicated. They were as accurate as they could be. Optimus Prime was just, that mold, they reused that pretty much the same general actings for the other, the Masterpiece movie Prime has the same sort of leg, things. But, after that, it kind of went downhill. The figures got smaller. They added the mech tech weapons that were like this big, and the figures were like this big.
Dark of the Moon got really simplified compared. It was an overreaction to they had complained, or a lot of parents had complained in Revenge of the Fallen that the toys were too complicated for kids, so they overreacted in Dark of the Moon and made them super simple.
Yeah, but didn't they also do that? What was that called? One Step or whatever? The
one-step changers.
They had like the gravity changers.
They still have those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Increase your volume a little bit. It's when you start talking over everyone, you're not getting there.
I'm just a quiet person.
I know you are.
I think it's my
amp that thing up.
My laptop. It makes it very choppy for everyone. So, repeat. Please bear with me because it's like I'll hear the beginning of a sentence and then it'll skip right to the end and I'll miss everything in the middle. So
we're keeping you guessing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's like speaking in German. It's mildly terrifying.
As long as you don't do
it's interesting but mildly terrifying at the same time.
As long as you don't do a David Hasselhoff impersonation, we're good. So
my Skype crashed earlier, so I think that's what caused it to go quiet.
I got the watch for it now. Yeah, Kit.
But it's good now, right? Am I uploaded now?
I was gonna say,
yeah.
All right.
I was gonna say I think third party too has like kept the interest up for a lot of people. I just don't think Masterpiece would be where it's at if it was just Takara releasing like 2 figures a year that that were G1. Because a lot of us are into G1. I know people. We have Beast Wars in the movies and all that too that people collect, but I think for a lot of people, G1 is kind of what the core of their collection is, and so if it wasn't for a third party filling in some of those gaps, and there's a lot of figures that Takara is never going to do, either because they can't do the license or because it's just not going to be popular enough for them to make the figures at the volume that they need to make it at.
Well, I keep going back to, if you remember, when they started teasing Masterpiece Soundwave, and that one just that time is indicative of what third party was, because as soon as third party, I don't remember which company it was, they said they were going to do a Masterpiece Soundwave, all of a sudden we got the official photos within weeks, and then bam, 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 and they did all that so you wouldn't go for the third party. But that whether or not they would have done it regardless, it at least sped it up, so we got it quicker, and that was a direct response to third party.
Well, and I think you see that like with the Megatron too, the MP36, like. There's a couple third parties that released that, and literally as soon as they were about ready to release their figures, Takara threw out MP36 and the teaser for that. But, so everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want those now."
Right, but then the funny part to that is as soon as they released it, what is it called? Weijing, another company made improvements to it for like a third of the price.
Yeah, the like third party knockoff company.
I hate
third,
to see
fourth party, whatever you want to call
what I
those
got.
guys.
That's what I
same
had.
thing with Dinobot and all that stuff.
By Megatron, it might, it's not in English, the voice, but it's got the what was it, a back piece? It's got the extra pieces that came with it, and it was $80 shipped. And what were they originally? $250? $225? Yeah.
Even consider that with MP44. Like all the two companies made their versions of updated Optimus Prime masterpieces. And, a couple weeks later, it was here comes an official announcement of MP44.
It's one of those things where, it's been said many, many times, Hasbro cannot legally pursue these third-party companies it would basically take from the line itself, unless things have changed, they would have to use money that to develop the line and produce the main line of Transformers to pay for any legal fees that they would have to incur company. So rather than pursue them in a court of law, they're pursuing them in the battlefield of the marketplace. Okay, let's flood the marketplace with higher quality stuff that people want more, and as the aesthetic, it's like Hasbro has tightened their grip on the pulse of the, so to speak, and now we've got Hasbro Selects. We're getting things that weren't, that normally we would get as like part of a BotCon set, that we're getting as released as Selects now. More of it, me as a collector, I don't have money for third-party stuff right now, and won't for quite some time anymore, simply for the reason that there's been such an onslaught of official stuff that I want more. Spend my money on that, and that stuff's even more affordable right now.
Yeah. And especially when they can go and take stuff from, for a while there, it was only the masterpiece ones that were actually like, very intriguing or just well designed, and everything else was, either not even evoking G1 or just kind of a lazy attempt, or just, iffy figures. And it was like, okay, so I'll spend 40 per on these, either the third parties or some, fourth party knockoff of one of the masterpieces.
Yeah, I'll pay the days of I'll pay a few dollars more to get a better version that's unofficial or they're dying anyway, at least in my opinion. Yeah. Because used to I didn't mind paying 15, 20 for a figure, like a deluxe figure that in my opinion was better in a quality and aesthetic than the official one. Now the official ones are coming out. They're less hollow. I'm not saying they're not hollow at all, but they're less. They got more detail. They're just as intricate. Yeah.
They've by far stepped up their game as far as like the actual mainline deluxe releases and everything like that. The only part where I fault them right now is seems like the propensity for clip-on wheels. I don't really like those, but.
This is freaking beautiful.
Exactly.
I love this. Yeah.
If you would have taken that and showed me that back when I was actually on the show and said, is this a mainline figure? I would have been like, probably not. It's probably some third party that made this, and it's probably, $95 or, $110 depending on the scale. And, that would have been a satisfactory answer for me. But now to see that stuff is coming out and being mainline, I think it's getting a lot of people back into it. A lot of couple of friends of mine are just getting back into the Siege and everything just because of, basically they're slightly smaller masterpiece versions for, $12, $14.
Yeah, especially the Earthrise stuff that they announced. Like, I've been pretty vocal on the page that, I'm kind of tired of G1. I've been that way for a while. That's kind of why I stopped collecting mainline figures in the first place. It's just, we're about to get another version of Sideswipe. We're about to get another version of, we got another version of Sideswipe, but we're about to get another version of like Wheeljack. We're about to get another Hoist.
But they're arguably better versions.
They do look fantastic. They look like he was saying, they're almost like that Optimus. It's like, it's obviously not masterpiece quality, but if you don't have the money to buy Masterpiece, and I know there's a lot of people who don't, because a lot of people have been upset about the Masterpiece prices, you have this alternative that looks really fantastic.
Yeah.
The only thing that's stopping me from buying them is, like I said, I'm not like, if I'm going to do G1, I'm going to start collecting masterpieces because I have the ability to do so. Where I don't, the Siege stuff doesn't do anything for me right now, but it looks fantastic, which is great. It's been a while since I sort of fell off in Power of the Primes, because I was big into the Combiner Wars stuff because I thought the kind of Combiner Wars stuff was fun. The figures were good. It was a fun gimmick. Everything as a combiner was. I could handle G1. I could handle G1 that way because even Optimus Prime was a combiner torso and stuff like that, right? And then Power of the Primes came out. Headmasters didn't really do a whole lot for me. Plus the figure quality dipped. Like I bought the very first wave of Power of the Primes, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. I can't do this any longer. So yeah, it sort of dropped off at that point, and just started doing Masterpiece, and really for a while I was only collecting Beast Wars Masterpiece, and I get like 2 of those a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I think that Siege has just really killed third-party chug, and the reason is because a lot of those that a third party would go and say, oh, we have a headmaster that we're going to do, or we're going to do Abominus or whatever. And then Hasbro comes out and releases a figure that, it's not the same quality, but it's decently close. And for a lot of people, I think just want a representation in their collection. Like, some of these weird ones, they don't need a super high quality version. And so, Hasbro can, show a figure off and release an entire line of figures before the third party can even get a couple figures out. So, sometimes they can work quicker and sometimes, slower. But I think that, like, I know, just talking to some guys, that, a lot of those companies like, Make Toys and Fans Project and whatnot, they the ones that are making chug style figures, like it doesn't sell. So I think that some of the ones where like Planet X and MMC, where they're doing a very specific aesthetic, they can still make them and people will buy them. But for the stuff where it's just random headmaster or random Japanese character, it's like that market's not there anymore because the third party knows that like Hasbro's, they can just go and steal their thunder and people will buy that and dump it.
They have to fill in. I feel like now they either have to fill in the Masterpiece line, or something of the sort, or they do something interesting like those like 2 or 3 different like Legends scale lines, which I think is pretty interesting, because you're getting because they're relatively affordable. You're getting them at they're a smaller scale. You can fit a lot of them in a small place. I was surprised no one jumped on that. And then like if you're buying like the official city bots, right? They're pretty good scale with those city bots. But then there's like you sort of got to do stuff like the Winged Dragon, right? And someone actually asked me if I'm getting that. I am getting that. I have it pre-ordered. What's your name in YouTube? Bruman. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm getting that. I don't have it yet. I have it pre-ordered through BBTS. They haven't fulfilled it yet. I'm sure to get to me at some point. But you have to kind of do stuff like that because I don't think Takara is going to get to the metals stuff, the like Beast Wars metals, especially definitely not at the like. I don't know how they're going to do the scale with that if they ever do. They would have to be in their own scale. They obviously can't scale with the current Beast Wars masterpieces because Beast Wars Megatron is huge. He's like the biggest masterpiece figure there is, and he's the smallest of the 3 versions of Beast Wars Megatron. Like he only gets taller as the series goes on.
Well, the Transmetal 2 that's out right now is actually about an inch shorter than it should be, to be in scale. So it's probably the closest you're going to get as far as scale goes.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think the thing looks awesome. I've been posting nonstop. Every time something comes up on Facebook, I share it to the group. So I'm definitely excited about it. Much more. Especially after I was pretty disappointed with Perfect Effect. Their
Optimal Optimus.
Megadora.
Oh yeah. I got the Optimal Optimus, and it's okay for a placeholder.
It's very highly stylized.
It's not bad, but it's way too small. It's way too small. I mean, you're talking about the difference between Optimus Primal, the monkey, and Optimus Prime, the truck. And Optimal Optimus was closer to the size of, the G1 truck than the monkey. And he's maybe not quite twice as tall. And he should be like 10 times taller. I mean, so that has a lot to do with it too. But I will say this much: I believe, and I'm really big into the Beast Wars. I actually do a show for that too, and that's all we talk about. And I tell you that the Beast Wars rising is going to continue. And when they see that, that's why you're getting so many masterpiece.
Pumped for Black Arachnia.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I've already pre-ordered mine, so it's only going to get better.
The pre-orders gave up. Yeah,
does that mean Armada, RID, all those others are going to get the same? I think so in time. I think, and we've said this many times. Everyone has their G1. Doesn't mean it's actual G1. It's just what you grew up with.
Yeah.
And once that time comes around, and it's usually about 20 years, you're going to see it. So I expect to see Masterpiece Armada, Masterpiece Cybertron.
When they did the vote for that, and it ended up being Star Saber that got made, I think Armada Optimus was like in second place or something like that.
Yeah.
In that fan vote.
I would have hoped for that one. I just want to see Big Pants Optimus Prime. Where he actually has movable legs.
Power pants. And I mean, Takara's engineering now, they would be able to do something incredible. I mean,
yes.
MP4, that version 3 Optimus is amazing. Like anyone out there who hasn't had a chance to play with that thing, it's the transformation is ridiculous. First off, Optimus Prime never needed to be that complex to transform, but he is that complex, and it's incredible how he goes from one mode to the other, and he gains these different proportions that make him look like he's jumped out of the freaking cartoon. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had a chance to mess with it at a local meetup the other day. I was blown away. I mean,
is it that much better than MP10 to buy it?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm getting it.
I'm happy.
I just.
I mean, it's expensive. What is it, like it's up there in the 200 also, isn't it?
I think it's like
400
or something.
If you buy it from a store on,
no way.
I can't States, you're going to spend like over 400.
I can't justify it.
I think I spent $385 because I bought it. I imported it.
My MP10 does just fine.
It does just fine because you haven't experienced it.
For $400, I won't experience it. I'm good.
Well,
give it time; it'll come down, just like MP10 did.
That's true.
$250 plus whenever it first came out, and then you had Toys R Us, $100. Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of my collecting I've done since I sort of laid back on Transformers is a lot of like Japanese collectibles, like anime stuff or like giant robots. Like I spent like $350 on the Soul of Chogokin Gypsy Danger from the Pacific Rim line. That was now granted it has a lot more. It has a ton of diecast in it compared to Optimus, but it doesn't have the engineering. That's for sure. Like all the moving parts in Optimus compared to that giant piece of diecast. I mean, that thing can move fairly well, but it doesn't move like Optimus moves. Like any pose you want to get this figure into, it will pose in that pose. It's fantastic.
The thing that's tough though is there's also those third-party options as well, and so I think that's where those are potentially hurting MP44 just because you have two other options that are, just over $100.
Yeah,
so it's like, and they have really good. They're better than MP10 as well. Like the articulation's a lot better and all that. So, yeah. That's the transform element, right?
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
That's the transform element one?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just looked at the pose and I stopped right there. Well, I mean, let's
I literally just sold my Magic Square one.
Gotcha.
Let's think about this. Think about Unicron. All right, that was funded, which is wonderful. There's enough people to do that. But then, what was one of the big things? There was a third-party company. Help me out. Which one was it?
Zeta Toys.
Zeta. And because they did it in a different scale, a different format, and a lot cheaper, they got a lot of traction too.
Mm-hmm.
Until they maybe got a cease and desist. I don't know. It disappeared off.
That's the rumor, but I guarantee you're going to see that on the market. You're going to I guarantee you'll see it on the market somewhere.
It's going to come out. They just picked the wrong time to debut it.
Well, they were 100%. They picked the right time to do it officially, but because they're unofficial, that was the wrong time. Because Hasbro got pissed.
Or maybe they intentionally did that, then pulled it.
Yep.
And then,
you're right. You're right. But I mean, think about it. I guarantee we're going to see it again, and people will buy it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. It's too small.
And there's a lot of people though that I'm hearing that they want to buy the Hasbro one for Planet Mode, and then they want to buy the Zeta one for the bot mode. So
right.
Have both.
My thing is,
HasLab it's just too big. It's going to take up an enormous amount of real estate, and for people like me that I got too much. I won't buy it. I did not buy it. I did not go into it, and I'm hardcore G1, so that should tell you something. It's just too big.
Well, one thing
I was going to say, I don't have a place to put it either, but I figure that that's a problem for future Lucas.
2001 Lucas.
2021.
21.
Yeah, 2021.
We're going back in past, guys. Buckle up.
Well, this is a retro episode.
That's right. We can do that. Fast forward.
One thing that Siege Omega has taught me, or not necessarily taught me, minded me, is I actually have fun with Siege Omega. I've transformed it 7 or 8 times now. It's to mess with and everything. Yet I've had Fans Toys Terminus Giganticus for 2 years now. It's a beautiful toy, gigantic. I've transformed it once, maybe twice. The Terminus Giganticus, the Fans Toys Omega.
Right behind you, right?
Yeah, it's right. It's gorgeous, but I just don't want to transform it because it's a very expensive piece. Break it, that'd be a lot of money to eat. And on top of that, there's a couple parts of it that are just ruining to convert. Yet Siege Omega, 5 minutes I can have him in rocket base mode. 5 minutes back I can have him back in robot mode.
I get
just
that,
as pretty, just almost as big.
I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to tell you that the Takara Beast Wars Megatron, I will not transform that thing. I am scared to death.
I've
transformed with the waist piece and everything. And if they came out with a third party, I would do just the opposite. It's not, you're afraid to transform the third party, but the official is good enough to transform. I'm going to say the opposite. I'm not going to transform that Megatron. It's right where I want it to be. I ain't touching it.
The principle The principle's the same, though. It's
It is,
with
but my
money
point being,
spent
it doesn't
and
matter where it comes from. If the quality's not there, it's just not there. I don't care if it's Hasbro or Fans Toys or Fans Projects or whatever. You really got to look at the quality of these toys before you buy them.
Yeah.
Now, if your sole purpose, like mine, was to display it and leave it there, great. For Duron, the Siege Omega, I would buy that too, because I would be afraid to touch the other one, but I'll transform that all day long. And everyone has that, the toys that sit on their desk that they, hey, I'm going to sit here and fiddle with and transform and everything else. Guess what? That Megatron's not one of them.
No.
So
it wasn't fun for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If the transformation, go back to, and I say this all the time, I can never remember the name of it.
Project Diesel.
Yeah. I hated that piece of crap. I actually cut myself transforming that thing because of the sharp edges and everything. I transformed it once. When I sold it in combined mode. I paid extra for to ship it because I didn't want to mess with it. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it. And
I actually transformed it back. I actually transformed it back to truck mode to put it in the package. Whenever I sold mine, and whenever I transformed it back to truck mode, I'm like, I am so glad I sold this thing. So glad I.
The difference is I'd be so afraid I'd break it right after I sold it. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
I would have just refunded it, but I recently sold my Magic Square Light of Freedom, and it's a beautiful toy. It's a great rendition animation Optimus Prime. But seeing as how I have an MP44 waiting on me whenever I get the funds to pay for it, and I've had a chance to mess with one now, and I'm like, yeah, it's far superior toy than the Light of Freedom.
I only have one complaint.
What's your one complaint?
It's too expensive.
I wish it had toe articulation, which is so being nitpicky.
You're nitpicking, but you know what?
But
you're a Transformer fan. You can do that.
If that's the only thing I could find wrong with it, then
that's a good day.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, oh, sorry, go on, Dron.
Well,
what were you saying?
It's one of those things where I'm glad that I sold Magic Square Light, but at the same time, I lament the fact that it's gone. As I said months ago, whenever I retired from the show, my collection is in a state of flux. I'm getting ready to unload a bunch of stuff. I have been trying to for the last couple months, but there's this damn Unicron thing that was floating over our heads, and nobody was spending any money. No. I told you. It's like I had several things up there for sale for the last couple months, and then Unicron funds, and within a week, I made 2 sales. I'm like, boom. Coincidence? I think not. But then you've also got this onslaught of selects pre-orders and all official stuff. Money is just not there for people to spend. I've currently got my G1 Road Caesar, the Laster from it. I've got my Road Caesar up on eBay. I've had it up there for less than what I paid for it for almost 2 months now. Not one bite. Not one bite. I'm like,
it's your clientele. I'm telling you, you go to TFCon with that. I can tell you one thing, especially in Canada, the Japanese exclusives sell, and they sell quick.
Mm-hmm.
They do at this show.
What I was going to do is I'll probably wind up hanging on to it until Orson goes back to another show, because I talked to him and he's willing to take and sell on proxy for me. It's just one more thing he can put on the table, and he can keep a percentage of whatever I get the money, and that's probably what I'm going to do with my Road Caesar. But other things I'm getting ready to sell, and and I'm not by any means getting out of the hobby. Look behind me here. But it's one of those things where spending the money on items that I'm going to enjoy versus spending the money on items that I'm going to enjoy by just looking at. Would you just look at it? Just look at it. 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 We can add Bassmaster it all done. But I want to be able to get it and mess with it. Siege Omega just reiterated that to me from a personal stand. For a couple of days after I got it, I literally had it sitting over here on the table next to my couch, and I'd be watching television, and I'm sitting there, clunk, 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 clunk. I'm just messing with this thing. I love it. Right now I've got one of the little Legion or Legend class Thundercracker. I got him, in his claw. It's just fun to mess with. I didn't even do that with toys. It's a great toy to look at, and it's arguably a better Omega than the Siege Omega.
I'll disagree with that. I'm going to say that it's not.
It's what I'm saying is it's from a personal standpoint.
No, I get that, but I'm going to say if it's something you can't enjoy doing what it's made to be built for, transform it and everything, I wouldn't call it a better toy. I noticed that a lot of the Siege, like the Jetfire, great toy. The hollowness bugs the crap out of me, but easy to transform, durable, fun to transform, and looks good. It hits all the marks. It's a good toy.
Yeah.
Now, is the third party one out there look better? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And even to an extent, I saw, I believe it was Rob had his Gabriel at a local meetup back, and even that is a great toy, and actually in many ways superior to the Siege version itself. But personal standpoint, I want things that I want to enjoy more. Just getting it down and messing with. Also to a point where I feel like I've got too much. My masterpiece shelves are reasonably spaced, but then my main line tools, the elbows, is what I believe it was Rob that might have put it that way once. But it's to the point where I want to continue my collection, but I have a different thrust in my collection. No pun intended. So while we're sitting here talking about toys and everything, this is a retro episode. Well, let's talk about some memories. If I don't mean to hijack it from Lucas. You haven't been on a long time.
I'll just sit back here.
Let the old guys talk.
Yeah, what was your favorite memory of being on the show from years ago that you remember? I know it's been 10 years, but a lot's changed since then.
I think you're right about that. A lot has changed, but it was always good just kind of having a community, I guess. And that's definitely, the favorite part about that is just, and that's what, it still currently is. It's just a bunch of friends that enjoy the same thing, talking about that same thing, and I think that's one of the biggest advantages of kind of having a show like that. You form a sense of community, and, it's not just limited to like, I'm going to go hang out with these people, because, I couldn't just go up to Kentucky or go out somewhere else. Y'all can't come down to Florida and just, hang out, and that would be limited to cons. But then you have, something like this that kind of centralizes everybody around that, and that's where it kind of, that kind of community feeling is it's there, and it's not just one time a year around BotCon or TFCon or whatever expo that's going on.
Yeah. Michael, what was your favorite?
I'm gonna echo his point a little bit because right when this started, I was sort of like in a vacuum when right before we got started or I joined the podcast, where I was the only person in my area or that I knew of that collected Transformers. Like none of my friends were into it. And I wasn't really, I really never got into, communicating much on like the larger websites and stuff like that. And so I was sort of in a vacuum at the time, and it was like I wanted to share my hobby with people, with like-minded individuals, because you start talking about Transformers with non-Transformers fans, and they're like,
they start zoning out,
and
or the ones that pretend they're Transformer fans, and then they start talking about that Optimus Prime figure.
It's like they come in and they're like, I had that one when I was a kid, and like you didn't have that one as you were a kid because that literally just came out.
Yeah.
You might think you did. Here, I'll show you the one that you actually had. You had this one. It's like, nah, it didn't look like that. It was much bigger. I'm like, nah, you were just 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, so when I was growing up playing with MP44.
So yeah, for me, it's it sort of came at that right time. I was looking to communicate with people. I had known Duran for a long time. Like I was 13. Or no, I was younger than that. It was like the butt crack of the internet at the time, and I was like, I had just found out that you could collect Transformers. I think I had stumbled upon Unicron.com, right? And I was looking at all the Beast Wars stuff on there, and then I happened upon Duran's forum, which was called Transformers Homage at the time, and I joined that, and I just sort of taught Transformers and became friends and learned I can collect and started collecting. But the forum shut down after several years. I think at the time I was not in huge contact with Duran, and we were on Facebook. And I didn't join Facebook until like 2007 or something like that. I graduated high school and joined Facebook, and then we sort of reconnected that way. But then, it's just, I was listening to Geek Existence Toys or Geek Existence Transformers, and Duran's like, hey, you want to be a cast member? I was like, sure. And then I started talking Transformers twice a week. We did it twice a week at first. And so we were talking Transformers twice a week. It was a blast. We would usually, we would record maybe 2 to 3 hour podcasts, but I can guarantee you that we were in that Skype call until like 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like to record a 2-hour show. We would be on Skype for 6 hours, and it was not uncommon. Not uncommon.
Yeah, there was usually about maybe like there might have been like an hour to 30 minutes to an hour before the show started, and then we would record for like 2 hours, and then we would stay on for another 3 hours after that. It was insane. I mean, but it was. I needed that outlet at the time, definitely, because I didn't have a lot of like-minded individuals around me. And then what that opened up to is I went to the only BotCon I ever went to, 2016.
2010.
Well, I went to the 2010 one for a day, yeah. But the only one that I ever actually bought the whole package and everything was the 2016 one, the very last BotCon. And I went out there and
got sick.
Saw these guys, got very sick. Very, very sick.
The con crud was horrible in that one.
It was.
Orson got sick. He missed almost the entire.
I missed the last day of
the show. Yeah, and then the day after BotCon ended, I got sick and missed a week of work.
But then I had several people come up to me and they'd be like, "Oh, TFYLP." I was like, "Yeah." And that was pretty cool being recognized. And then even when I had stopped showing, because I sort of I low key left the show. I was very sporadic anyways. I was getting hard to I moved into my own house and moved in with me and my brother bought a house together because we both work in the same place. It's very close to our work. And then he was having friends over on the weekends, stuff like that. It became hard for me to get on the show. So I finally just told Duran, I'm not really impassioned by Transformers right now. Nothing's exciting me. I think I'm just going to quit the show. So I quit very quietly. And I had multiple people, it was a few months, after that, like they realized I wasn't showing up, and they sent me private messages like, "Hey, are you okay? How you doing? I haven't seen you in a while." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't say anything, but I left the show because I just wasn't very. I'm not very into Transformers right now. I'm sort of in a lull. So, just having people that they notice I was gone, and they're like, "Hey, what's happening? Like, we care about you." That's it's a community. It's a very good community.
Absolutely.
Love our listeners. Thank you guys.
Yeah. On a side note, the after hour where we talk for 2 or 3 hours, that's kind of where the idea for TFYLP after hours came from.
Like,
is like we just started recording some of them, and that's how it became. So that was always fun. Brett, what about you?
What was the question?
Sorry, I rambled.
Favorite memories of being on the show, and
that's what I thought it was. That's okay. And I actually wrote some notes down so I would know.
He can't remember otherwise.
That's true. That is true.
It's the old age and the senility, and it
the only time I remember to go to the bathroom is when my bladder tells me. So, there was, I was sitting here trying to remember it. I remember there was a joke, and it was of a mature nature, that I said something and Don just didn't get it. And we went through the whole show and it just never clicked. And then it was like right when we were getting ready to sign off, it was like that light went on and he was just like, and we ended it. And I'm like, that's the best show ever. That is so funny. It was so good. And I can't remember what the joke was. I just remember him just all of a sudden just like,
I vaguely remember that too, because we cut it off right when he realized.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
But there's no script.
Don't be a Richard. Don't be a Richard.
We did that later. But no, it was just one of those things. It was so innocent and spontaneous. It was perfect. That was one of my favorites.
You guys should start trying to find that episode. There's only 350 of them to go through.
Yeah.
Get out there. When
we're on YouTube now.
When
each one's about 2 hours long.
Yeah, I scoured everywhere looking for a Supreme Cheetor, and I actually found one in DC, and Don was there. I bought it, ran out there, and I took a video of him signing it in line, and we sent it to Carrie. That whole thing, I'll remember that. I'll always remember that, because it was just a group effort just to give something back. We got nothing out of that, other than,
well, $100 a month.
Well, it was giving to her, but the whole going and finding it, buying it, and shipping and all that, the whole thing was just fun, because that's hey, we're going to do it, and that's what we're doing. That was one of my favorites. The other thing is all the way up, I actually had it last year. No, I had it earlier this year. We have I'm in the northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, and one of the things is Ohio has a lot of shows, a lot of toy shows. And even this year, someone recognized me from this show. And I still get that. And it's been over a year. And much like what Michael said, a few months after I left, I had people. And Duran, if you remember, because we had one listener that was just like, why aren't you on the show, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I got so many ideas. Well, I started getting all the ideas and I sent them to you, because this guy was just really passionate about wanting to know, what do you guys think about this? Or what do you guys think about that? This is how I feel. How do you feel? Because there was a connection there. There's always a connection with the listeners and the fans, because, I mean, it's not putting us up on a pedestal or anything. It's just you get someone that you talk to and you talk to on a regular basis. You know, I want your input on this. I just want to know what you think. This is what I think. What do you think? And it was really, really neat. Even, like I said, even this year, that people still notice, why aren't you doing that? Or I noticed you're not there, kind of thing. It's kind of neat. So I 100% thank Duran for allowing me the time to do that, because it was extremely enjoyable, and it's something I always remember. So I appreciate that.
Well, and that's one of the things for me, and one of the reasons I agreed to, be on the show as well, is just that impact that you guys have made on me. So I was watching the show when Brett and Duran were both on for a couple years, and I just really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed I met you guys at conventions. And just really enjoyed the time that I spent talking with you about Transformers, and I think that a lot of these shows and these podcasts, it's really a positive impact that for me, and hopefully for everybody that listens to this, for Transformers, because there's so much negativity in the world in general, and there is on different outlets and social media and things like that too, but to actually have a place to where you can just sit down, talk Transformers, talk about collecting, talk about what you love, it's just invaluable, like with all the other crap that's going on in this world.
Absolutely. And we talked about before that, this is my G1, this is your G1.
Just don't let Energon be your G1.
Yeah,
I had to sneak it in. It's
just remember, there's people that are wrong out there. But
anyway. Eventually, you will meet somebody whose G1 is just KISS players, and so you'll, yeah. Eventually, it'll probably happen. Somebody will say,
Cyberverse was my G1.
The only thing I got to ask them is, if they're into that KISS and all that, do they hang out by the women's bathroom just to get a look or whatever?
They had the Legion tongue going on.
Sorry, I don't care for that.
KISS was a weird time for trans.
It was. Anyway, that's Japan. Anyway, so my point being is that everyone needs an outlet. You need an outlet if it's collecting toys, if it's talking about toys, whatever. There's so many bad things out there that you can be doing. And yeah, I'm a nerd. Oh well, and that's okay.
Proud of it.
Oh, what was that? I can't believe I just referenced River Into the Nerds. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I actually did. Oh my God. And I didn't mean to do that either. But I did. The only thing I can say is I'm pretty proud of that. That was in there too. Wow. I got nothing. I just totally messed myself up. Wow. Got them all.
The podcast is, and for the last decade, a huge part of my life. I dedicated so much work to this show, and the success of it. I made a lot of inroads, a lot of successes, a lot of failures. But trying to make this show better than it could be. I wanted to make each iteration of the show better. Decided that my time was done with the show. I didn't want the show to die. And I'm so happy that Lucas and the rest of the cast has taken over and really taken the ball and run with it. Now there's
because a lot of us old farts are still in the private group, and it's sort of lurking and watching what they're doing, and man, they're going for it more than we ever did.
I am so proud you guys are doing. Now there's something TFYLP literally every day of the week, and if it's just a segment. I mean, who would have known that little segment that even Tyler, me, and Greg were doing years and years ago, Ouch My Wallet, is now its own show.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing, and it's great. I
don't know why we never thought, because when we killed the segment, because we wanted to start being different than the other Transformers podcasts, and
Right.
Every Transformers podcast started with talking about what you got, and then talking about news. And we were like, so let's differentiate ourselves. Let's stop talking. Let's stop spending the first hour talking about what everyone got, and then maybe
sometimes.
news. Yeah, it would take forever.
Do you remember when we did the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But,
TFYLP.
people want to know your opinions on the new stuff coming out.
Yeah, I mean,
so when we
there's
cut that
definitely
segment.
a
We got a lot of
for
people
that.
asking us.
Yeah,
what happened to it? Like, we want to know what you think about this. It's like, well, we kind of want to differentiate ourselves. So, that you guys started doing that as its own show is genius.
Yeah, exactly. So
we should have done that a
you
long
could
time.
you could still do that.
But it was hard.
Yeah, but you can still do that and still do the topics on another show.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there thinking about the minutes, and I remember. You remember Hercules?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but it just came to me.
I would never sell.
I don't know if anyone here remembers it, but I had Hercules, and I had the new, at the time was new, the Hasbro Devastator, which I still have. And I sat them right here on this table. And I said, I'm going to record knocking them off. Just knocking them off the table. And I actually got, I guess it would be hate mail.
Well, that was the start of the Brett throws a figure across the room.
Yeah. I just popped it off, and it shattered. And I got hate mail for that. Why would you do that? I'm like, because it's funny. It was funny,
I remember the destroyed, movie Scorponok figure.
Oh, and I also had, remember that knockoff G1 Prime?
Yeah.
That I sat there and just destroyed and threw it right in the garbage. I actually didn't get hate mail over that, but over the Hercules I did. And I'm like, really? What the? So I actually got hate mail over that. I was just sitting here thinking, I was like, that was so funny. But that was another thing. I mean, Duran tried to do different things like you guys are doing. Just different alliterations of to make it different, because you don't want to be like all the other podcasts out there.
And that's not to say there's anything wrong with those shows. It's just,
no. But you want to stand out. That's
give
the whole idea.
people reason to listen to this show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we started doing like a lot of like history. Like we tried to point out things that maybe listeners never knew about. Like, because a lot of us on the cast, we're so we're dedicated enough to it that we decided that we were going to talk about it once a week. We know like weird stuff about the franchise. Like we've delved a little too deep into wiki pages and stuff like that. Like we were around for some of it. Some of us are old enough.
We did the dirty work. We did the dirty work, so you don't have to.
That's right.
Yeah, and so it's like we started talking about the history of things and pointing stuff out, and I mean that became the show for quite a while, and people seemed to like love it. We would get feedback like, I love I'm learning stuff about the franchise, and you guys aren't like all the other, you guys are doing different things. You guys aren't like all the other podcasts. And, that was pretty cool. When you're trying to differentiate yourself and people are telling you we like that you're different, that's sort of what you're aiming for.
The show is still that much right now. But one of the short series that we did a couple episodes was introducing people to Yusha Brave, and I believe is What's that?
I was I've been so tempted so many times by that Soul Chogokin.
Yeah, it's great stuff. It's and I believe that's whenever Hang Up Chan joined the cast, and Headmaster Don, he knows a lot about it, and still to this day, if you look at our YouTube statistics, those Yusha Brave episodes are some of the most watched episodes. TFYLP, because in the span of like 2 or 3 episodes, there's so much information just packed into those shows, and it's even worth a review at a time.
Sure it is.
The cousin series to Transformers. Matter of fact, I think one of my favorite moments from TFYLP actually happened, if I'm not mistaken, during one of those episodes. Headmaster Don wanted to show off something. I'm wanting to say it was Fire Dagwan, and he got up to go get it. Well, everybody ducked off camera, and then he comes back and he's sitting there talking, and he's like, guys.
No, that was I did that, and I wasn't on the Brave stuff because I didn't know anything about it. It was another episode, and as soon as he got up, I said, "Hey, everybody, let's just duck, hide," and we all hid. I remember that now, and he
comes back and he's like, guys,
and it's on the air. I mean, and we're all hidden.
I'm sure it was a great episode for audio only listeners.
But I actually said, "Hey, everyone, let's just duck out and hide." Yeah. So they got that.
You knew what was happening.
Yeah, I remember that. No,
his reaction was.
I didn't have anything to do with the Brave because I didn't know anything about it, but I remember that. That was a different episode.
Out too.
That was funny.
My
God, we did something else too.
Now we're gonna have to challenge the listeners to actually go back through all the archives and find these episodes that we're talking about.
Now, there's another one too. I did this, and feel free to do this because it's funny. There was one time when Don was talking, and I just stood perfectly still. Like I was frozen. Like my video was frozen. Until he said something. And then I just started moving again.
Oh, you do that so many times, though.
Just for the heck of it, you know?
It's the worst.
I love messing with that.
You have the ability to stand still. Just
me?
Perfectly?
Yeah, it's tough.
And it'd be like...
It's something like a stoic...
Are you... Are you frozen? What happened to you?
Yeah, see, and I just did that, and he was like, he's talking, and he goes, I think Brett's video, and I went, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that was during the dreaded we had problems at the time where sometimes would just drop on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
it would be like, oh well, Michael's gone. All right,
there's been several episodes,
and all of a sudden he'd pop back on. Oh, you're back.
We'd be right in the middle of broadcasting an episode.
Yeah. I think there was one. Oh man, I remember one episode where we got 30 minutes into it twice.
Yes.
And dropped
that happened
twice.
Once.
And then we all came back. It's like, well, there was an opening section that we're not going to do anymore because we've done it twice.
All right. It's like, we're going to hurry up through this because we only got 30 minutes and blah, blah, blah. And everyone would talk fast and everything. We're done. And then drop.
Well, I really hated it whenever it happened, whenever you had special guests.
Oh, yeah.
We had Jim Simonic on the show back. I think it was episode 108 or something. No, it's been a while back, and much to my chagrin, I kept wanting to go back and have him back on and basically redo it. A year or two ago, but we were halfway through the episode, and my computer just completely, the Skype kept going. I had no idea that we were no longer broadcasting. And the thing is whenever I realized we're no longer broadcasting, I'm like, oh, well, that's fine. I'm recording a hard copy to the hard drive. That crapped out too, and
yeah. And it's like the worst of the worst could happen.
The worst of the worst could happen. And, literally I had maybe 30 to 45 minutes at of that whole episode. And he was such a great spirit about it too. He's like, no problem, on. And if I'm not mistaken, like we were coming up on a convention or something, or a holiday or something, and I just never could get him back. And I regret that, but it was all due to technical problems. And that's one of the biggest things that's all, not just this show, but I've seen other podcasts having issues with technical issues,
Now, one of the funny things is you can have so much fun with that. Like I said, the everyone hiding and this, that, and the other. One of the things I did when I was actually hosting and broadcasting it is at the end of one of the episodes, just for some reason, I thought, you know what? I started talking. And I said, there's this thing. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't a secret or something. I really want to tell you guys about something. And as soon as I started talking, I ended it. I ended the show. So everyone was like, yeah.
What was it?
It was done.
What was it?
Or there'd be
exactly.
There'd be the episode when you were hosting where you'd be like, all right, we're going live. Michael, you're hosting tonight. And then you would hit go. It's like, what?
Yeah, you're doing this.
What are you talking about? I'm not prepared.
No,
I didn't come up with this topic.
I love doing that stuff. Now, since this show, I've done a few other shows. I'm on a couple, but I'll be honest with you. I've had so much fun doing this one. It's just been so much fun just because you can be yourself. It's not scripted. It's not, we're going to do this, and this is what we're doing. Sometimes it's just like, hey, Michael, guess what? Go with it. Here you go. And he'd be like, okay. And you would actually get that.
I guess I'm hosting today.
Yeah,
because I did
that
host
at the very beginning, that little shock, and like, hey, and it's genuine.
Until we started using
cameras rolling,
a different software for hosting and stuff. Like we were using Google Hangouts. I hosted for a little bit. I was terrible at it. I remember the worst episode we ever had was, for whatever reason, it was just me and Mike Lyons.
I remember Mike.
And it was like, I'm like, what are we supposed to do with this? It's just the two of us. I just remember it being the most awkward episode ever. I think we went maybe 40 minutes.
It was Mike and Mike in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I bet you got more swear words in 40 minutes than all of TFYLP.
And talking about beards. I don't know.
Yeah.
But see, that's the genius of TFYLP. Like for this episode, we did like the first 10 minutes on cats and internet connections or whatever. And so if people manage to make it through that, like on the podcast, right?
And we were talking about so many Transformers.
I'm sorry, it was kind of boring at the beginning. But
that's the thing. Like we were in here for like 30 minutes before it talking about Transformers. You guys just happened to get to talk about dogs and cats.
That's right. It's just when you click go.
I think that's what people always
had insight on what's coming out. Everything, you missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people enjoy, and I guess that they have always enjoyed, and that's why it kind of grows and grows and grows. Is just because the podcast is just so kind of just like natural conversation, and people want to be a part of that. And if you want the news, you can just go read any of the 10 or 15 news sites about the stuff and get the same information. But it's
you start to feel like the people, like as that's why it's so easy for them to come up to you at a convention and just start talking to you.
Yeah,
and it's what makes it.
You get more than just Transformers. You find us joking about other, stuff like that. Before we go too far though, there's one person that was part of this show that we would be remiss not ever mentioning again, and the guy that was behind Slagacon.
Yep.
Williams. Yep. A lot of people, he was on the show for a while, and usually he would be at work with a semi, and he'd have his Bluetooth on, and you just see a black screen with a little blue blinking light, but you'd hear him,
Mm-hmm.
But what a lot don't realize is how much input that man had into behind the scenes of this show. Some ideas that are still.
That was the other thing. Yeah.
He helped us get a lot of guests. Yeah.
He knew a lot of people. Whole lot.
Yeah.
Chad was a amazing guy.
Even segments, he's just amazing, and he is sorely missed. And actually, the end of this month, it's been 3 years, 3 or 4 years. The time is
2016, right?
Just going fast,
Because I saw him. I mean, that was the first time I met him in person. Was at BotCon, and he was the happiest guy to see me. Talking my ear off.
And then just a few months later, he's gone.
That hurt, man. He was an amazing guy to have, because he stopped being on the cast as much, partly because of his because he got cancer.
Yeah,
but also because the Zeta Prime thing was just hanging over his head forever. And it was a shame because, like Duran said, he was always in the background in it, because we have a private Facebook group where we do all of our coordination, and he was
and he would answer the comments and stuff.
Yeah,
and regulate all that, and that was always nice, because you sit here and you interact, and I'll look over and I missed 4 or 5 questions. I'll go back. He was right on that, definitely, and he would come up with topics and stuff like that. That was always good.
And like I said, guests and he did a lot for the show, and
Well, that's why whenever I redid the logo about a year or so ago. A couple of years ago, I put CW up in the upper corner. Yeah, up in the upper corner of it, to always remember him and honor his contribution to this podcast. Because without Chad, a lot of TFYLP could never have happened. So I think it would be remiss to retrospective show and not talk about Chad. We love and miss you, man.
Yeah,
we do.
Very much so.
I didn't mean to hijack from you there, Lucas. You got other things you want to talk to us about?
Also, because we're talking about things that that you remember, memories and stuff like that. Just mentioning guests. We had a lot of guests. I got to talk for an hour and 30 minutes with Gary Chalk, right? And he tells us a story about his gay cat and dog. I believe it was cat and dog. Those were his words, not mine. He called them gay. And
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No. I'm just saying, he had a male cat and dog, and he said that they loved each other. And it was hilarious. That one should be easy to find. You just search Gary Chalk in the TFYLP search on YouTube. You'll be able to find it. But it was dude was hilarious. And I've been sitting there talking to the voice of Optimus Primal as a big old Beast Wars nerd. Unfortunately, I didn't
get to hear him play the piano and sing, though.
Really?
Oh, yeah, at TFCon.
Yeah, I would love to go to a TFCon.
Get a few drinks in him, he'll do wonders.
Because he seems to be pretty regular at those sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was if someone had said, "Hey, David Kaye is going to be on the show last December," I'd have been like, I would kick a kid off a cliff if you let me on that show.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Maybe we'll see if we could get him back on there for you, Michael.
Things you'd never thought you'd hear on a podcast.
You do have to admit it's
a very evil kid.
The amount that it's grown is just it's just amazing to see the evolution of it.
Under a teenage, I meant over, so that's better.
A kid to me now is 25. So,
Shut up, you're a kid.
I always love to have Flint Dilley on the show. He was on the show a couple times, and I love. And it's also a testament of how laid back the show can be sometimes. The dude was literally laying in a hammock in his backyard last time he was on the show. And he talking to us about.
He
was talking to us about the movie and everything. It was just totally awesome. We even had Ariel, from that one episode of Transformers. Samantha Newer, also best known as Jem from Jem and the Holograms. We had her on the show. Phenomenal, absolutely gorgeous, by the way. She is a great woman. Still friends with her on Facebook. Always posting great things. Huh?
Crush much?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
She's pretty smoky. No shame there. No shame. But so many wonderful guests. And Aaron Archer, his input and insight that's been on the show. I mean, the man was literally behind the brand for over a decade and a half. And just to have him on, I always wanted to have him on multiple times. I even talked to him briefly about being a regular on the show, and he was actually open to it a little bit. I don't know how open he would be now because he's got things going on, but he's got a very good mind and a very good knowledge of the brand. I mean, he brought us Energon. No, but seriously, he brought us a lot
Everyone has a bad day. Come on,
a lot of good stuff.
Let me ask you guys.
Yeah, I like Energon.
Just remember that there's an official product called Alpha Q.
So let me ask you guys, where do you see yourself, over the next few years with your, Transformers collecting and you're part of the fandom and all that? I know, Duran, you kind of touched on it already with, it sounds like you're kind of shaping your collection and trying to go for, things that are fun. But, Brett, like do you see yourself where you're going to ever be done collecting, or where do you see yourself in your collection?
Ugh. Right now I am actually, because I just picked something up, I'm one Japanese figure away and 2 boxes away from having a complete G1 box collection and all the Japanese exclusives. I'm literally that close. And the reason I haven't gotten it is because I don't care. That's the sad part. There's part of me that's like, well, when it's done, what are you going to do? And there's another part of me that's just like, I've been this long without it. I don't need it. So there's part of me that would say I'm done. I'm not collecting anymore. But there's so much out there that I don't know about that when I see it, I go, I got to get that. And I'm not talking just new stuff. I'm talking about old stuff too, that just undocumented, whatever. I've always been really big into prototypes, pre-production, stuff like that. And just, it pops up daily. So I would be remiss if I said that I'm done collecting. But as I've never said,
fully get out of it.
Yeah. I will say this much. Even if I got exactly everything I ever wanted, I would still talk about it. I would still go to conventions. I would, still do the podcast, this, that, and the other, just because I like talking about it. But as far as collecting goes, they keep bringing out such cool stuff. It's kind of tough. The Masterpiece stuff, I love it. The Beast Wars Masterpiece, I'm hooked. Absolutely hooked. So I'll still keep going. Absolutely.
How about you, Michael? I know you said you just got MP44. I mean, you're into Beast Wars as well. But I mean, is that kind of where you see your collection going?
Yeah, mostly like the highly collectible or collector focused stuff. I'm still collecting the old Beast Wars line and stuff like that. Like I would like to finish it someday, but I'm like not pursuing that online or anything like that. I've been, this stuff's really fun to find when you go to a convention or something like that. And so I've sort of kept it as that. If I go to a convention, I browse. There was a comic convention here. It was like a pop culture convention here called MegaCon, and I just walked around the entire show floor and just if I saw a Transformer, like, oh, there's Transformers over there, and I would go look and see if I found anything that I was looking for. I didn't have any luck this year. I was sad, but in years past, like I found Rat Trap. I found a bunch of really cool stuff. And then I would like to start going to like TFCon again and being able to browse and just find stuff there to buy. But mostly I'm sticking to like the highly collectible stuff, like the Masterpiece stuff. And even then, I've been trying to not get into buying Masterpiece G1 other than the few I have, just because there's quite a bit to catch up on. But after getting, Megatron was the first one I had bought since Grimlock, and I loved Megatron. Megatron was amazing. And then I got MP44, and it's amazing. And now I'm like, man, I really kind of want to get that Sunstreaker. They're reissuing it. I kind of want to get Bumblebee, even though he doesn't look that fantastic and he's expensive. He is, but yeah. So I don't really see myself. And we've had this topic come up a few times in years past. I probably will never stop collecting. I've slowed down quite a bit, and I'm focusing mostly on more expensive stuff. So it's harder to collect a lot of that really fast. It costs a lot. But even then, like I bought the Siege. I wasn't really into Siege. I thought the Siege stuff looked really nice and everything, but I really wasn't into it until they released, or they had those two cell shaded, Optimus and Megatron that are coming out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, those are freaking beautiful. I have to get those. Like just the cell shading on them looks like really cool. Like if they did that with other figures, weird stuff like that, like stuff that catches the eye. Because I'm maybe a little bit of the opposite of Duran, where he wants stuff that's fun to to interact with and everything. I'm fine with, like, I get the figure, I transform it a few times, I play with it, I've experienced all the features. Now I want to set it on the shelf. I want it to look really cool and look impressive when it's inside my Detolf, well lit, and people come over and they come and walk through my collection room like it's a museum. And so, yeah, that's sort of what I'm going towards. And the Masterpiece stuff is making that really easy.
Yeah, I think all that, I mean, you really, after you've been in the, collecting for, a number of years, and you find yourself where you start running out of space or whatever, to where that becomes a premium, you really have to start deciding, okay, what is, what is my priority for my collection? And for a lot of people, that is, hey, I want the best representation that I can get of, my favorite characters. And so that's the reason why Masterpiece, I think, appeals to so many people, too. But I think no matter what it is, that it's like, you have to kind of, because all of us, I'm sure, have gone through that and lived the bin life and whatnot. But
done several purges.
Yeah.
I've been through several. Yeah.
But I think too, a lot of people I've known as well have done kind of what Brett has done, where you become a dealer, after a number of years, because you just keep upgrading your figures, and you might, you start off with like a loose figure that's incomplete, and then you try to get the accessories, and then you try to do whatever, and then you're trying to get boxed, and in the process of doing that, you end up selling a lot, and so then you find that you kind of like selling stuff as well. And so I know a lot of other friends that I have too have kind of started doing that and do the convention circuit.
Yeah. Actually, I was just thinking, hey, Duran.
Yeah.
Mega Toy Fan, maximize your collection by minimizing your cost at Mega Toy Fan. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
There was another one too. What was the other one? Come on.
Oh, about Capture Prey.
Yeah.
Great toys, great prices, great service.
We always had to get those in at least once in a show, so we just
hated hosting because I had to say them.
Yeah, you can't say them.
Yeah. And I would always mess it up. So
no, I messed up Captured Praise. I did a lot.
That's why I loved having Don on.
Yeah, he could do it.
I would just be like, "Hey Don, can you give us the sponsors?" And he would rattle them off like it was no problem. And I was like,
he was like an auctioneer.
Because I'm gonna stumble over
great toys, great prices, great service.
Yep. Yeah, he would.
So Tyler, where do you see your collection going?
I'm selling it all, and I'm leaving. No, I'm not. Actually, I don't think I haven't come
moving to Paris.
Yeah,
my name's gonna be French, and yeah.
Actually, I haven't had to get rid of any of mine. They're all still like in boxes for the most part, in a garage. Because after I moved out of the house where I had like probably 3/4 of the room was shelf space for them, and they were, it was already there. My uncle put up the shelves. It was great. I had every single figure on display. But moved, and now it's moved a couple times, and it's limited to just a few on a nightstand, and most of them are in boxes. But eventually, I'd like to see get some shelves for them. Have them all lit. Everybody with their detail shelves and the lights, and set it up kind of how I used to have it.
Or you could do like this. Alexa, turn on the display lights.
Oh man, I hooked mine
like that.
up.
Exactly.
Oh,
that
nice.
is exactly what I'd like to have.
Yeah, mine does that too. It's amazing.
Yeah. Alexa, turn off the display lights.
Hang on.
I think having
wait a minute.
something
Whoa. I got one for that. Brett, turn off the display lights.
It takes a second.
Oh, that's sad.
It's not working.
It doesn't work. I don't have anything for that.
But
Once
I'd like
again,
to have
a visual gag.
I'd like to have my collection kind of back up and displayed. I had everything kind of, posed well how I liked them before, and I think having that just kind of spread out on maybe not the same type of shelves, but doing them on different layers and going kind of vertical with them instead of taking up 3/4 of a room with them would be nice. And I kind of want to go back and to have
all of a room.
Well, as long as I have some more room to do that in and not just one room.
Never enough room.
There it isn't.
Years I've been saying, it's not what I bought, it's not the money, it's I have no room. Guess what? It hasn't changed. It's still the same. It's still the same. No room.
And I'd like to go back and get, I know there's quite a few I'd like to start doing. I think it'd be nice to go back and get some of the masterpieces. I'm actually really tempted by going back and getting the legends, like the mini masterpiece scale figures, because those things are really nice.
Well, the neat thing about that is you don't have to wait for the next thing coming out. You've already seen it. So you can make an educated purchase on which one you want. So that's,
exactly. And,
there's nothing wrong with that.
The Transform Element was one of the last ones that I picked up. Before that was been doing a lot of third-party movie stuff. I got like the Unique Toys Challenger and the Peru Kill and a few of those. I just enjoyed those just because, they have the engineering behind those is just absolutely crazy to see something kind of fold in on itself so effortlessly, and actually still be relatively easy to transform. I mean, they're pretty easy to deal with, but they have a lot of complexity to them, it seems, and some companies can't find that balance where they're very complex, but they're just a pain, and you don't want to deal with it. It's like you don't even want to, pick them up anymore. And sometimes it leads to them being really fragile too. And so it's like, take a risk of breaking something that costs, $200.
Right. And that goes under the what's enjoyable. If it's not enjoyable to transform or you're afraid to, I mean, to me, everyone's got scales, how you grade stuff, this, that, and the other. That's definitely one of them. Is it enjoyable? Is it durable? You don't just buy something. I guess like a painting or whatever. You buy something for its value and you just look at it. Toys aren't like that. Toys are a little different. You want to be able to play with it or whatever without worrying about it depreciating, because no matter what anyone says, I don't buy it because it's worth this much. I buy it because I enjoy it. There's not one person in this world that wants to buy something, even if you're playing with it, and it depreciate in value. That sucks. It just does. Everyone wants to say, hey, look, my collection, I bought it for this, and it's worth X much more. And that's part of the enjoyment. I mean, there'll be people out there that will say, no, you're wrong, but it's part of it. Does that make you a scalper or a hoarder or whatever? No. It's part of the collecting aspect. So otherwise, everyone would be collecting rocks,
Rock lords.
Cool, man.
Hey, rock lords were all right, and some of those are actually worth money, especially the jewels.
Yep.
The gems.
Don't be a nugget.
Nugget.
Don't
Nugget
be a
was
nugget.
neat. You can't find one that's not
Don't
worn
be
down.
a Richard.
Don't be a Richard.
There are some in my collection that I'd like to see what they're worth. Like some that I kept on just completely sealed and have never opened, and just randomly just kind of wonder if they've gone up or if they're absolutely just worthless. Bought them for $12, now they're worth 35 cents. But
Well, I can help you with that. I can even buy it if you want. So or help you sell it.
Because most of them weren't that. Most of them were kind of odd. It was like a movie one cliff jumper. Like where they just repainted Bumblebee into the red, but I'm just like, I never opened him, but I bought him because he was there, and I'm like,
yeah, but some of the 07 movie stuff's actually worth money.
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe one day in years this will be worth a lot. I have no idea if it is or not.
Well, you had to wait a long time, but yes, it is. Because that's someone's G1.
Yep.
So, well, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys coming back and being on the show. It's been a lot of fun. It's been, it's been fun, doing a retrospective of the show and, some of the memories and whatnot. And,
getting totally off topic, because was always our thing.
Exactly. So, I don't know. We didn't have too many audio or video issues today, so unfortunately, but that's usually a staple of the show as well. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much, and anytime that you guys want to be back on, we'd love to have you on because I think that you guys have just been a fantastic part of the show, as well. So, and I also want to say if you like us and you like what we do, consider supporting us through Patreon. Patreon.com/TFYLP. We have, you can give as little as $1 a month on up to $100 a month. And that just helps us with, because we have server costs, with hosting the podcast and hosting the website, with the software for the computer and all that type of thing that we have to pay for. So we are running a special.
There's also a bonus thing too. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, don't forget about the cost for my, guest appearance. I'll send you the bill in a little bit.
Yeah, that too. So, that may actually, Brett's cost may be, for me visiting his booth at TFCon and buying some stuff. So,
whichever, I'll get it on the front or the back, whichever,
But I want to say, we do have a bonus for the Patreon supporters. So, but it ends today. So, what that is that if you are giving $10 a month or more, you can get a free T-shirt. Well, not free. There's a T-shirt that you will get for supporting us at the $10 tier or above. And so we're trying to do this in time for TFCon. And then we're also going to be mailing it out as well. So today's the last day. I'm putting the order in tomorrow. So if you're interested, make sure and, get your pledge in by today. And then also make sure and send me your T-shirt size as well. So, but I'll post more about that on the group again, just as a reminder for today. So, but Well, with that, I guess we're done. Thanks again. I think we're just at 2 hours here, so
Sounds about right.
That's more punctual than we ever were.
Old time's sake.
Classic TFYLP right there. So, well, thanks, guys, and we'll
thanks
see you
everybody.
It was a blast.
Good to be back. It was a pleasure.
See you.
I need